Hey, everybody. I'm Rick. The Montreal Canadiens are just finishing off their bye week and all-star break off days. As a matter of fact, I believe they are flying to Washington as I'm recording this. So in that time off, they traded Sean Monahan, center Sean Monahan to the Winnipeg Jets. They got back a first-round pick in this year's draft and a conditional 2027 third-round pick. That condition is if Winnipeg wins the cup this season. So I guess we're just getting that first round pick. So I've got some news that happened as a result, I guess, of the Sean Monahan trade. I've got, I guess, my opinions on who might be up on the trading block next. The London, Ontario Police press conference on the players that were charged with sexual assault from the 2018 World Junior Championship thing that happened. That happened this afternoon. I've got what I learned from there, not a lot, but I've got what I learned from there, and we'll do all that. We're going to start with Brandon Gignac. I think, Brandon, not Brendan. Brendan Gallagher, not Brandon Gignac. He is a center called up from the Laval Rocket, not called up. He was signed to a Laval Rocket contract only. He's been signed to a two-year contract by the Habs. Here's the announcement right there. It's interesting because the contract is $775,000 for each season, but the first season is $150,000 in Laval. And it says here on Cap Friendly $350,000. I saw a report $400,000 in the second season in Laval. And, that could really throw teams off if the Habs do have to waive him. And teams might not pick him up because of that particular that salary in the second year in Laval. Let's see. And, he's the transaction, if you go on Cap Friendly, the transaction is still pending, I guess, has to be approved by the NHL. It will be. I don't see there will be a problem. And once that happens, he'll be on the roster for the Habs up here and would need to be waived if they wanted to send him back to Laval. So, it's good that they have that stipulation. A funny story about Gignac. I have a neighbor here. I don't know his name, unfortunately. I forget his name anyway. I've only met him a couple of times here, but I bumped into him just the other day, and he asked me about Gignac, and I know the player. I don't know much about him. And I told him that I don't think they're going to call him up. I don't know much about him. He doesn't have a contract, blah, blah, blah. Turns out my neighbor was 100% right. They signed Gignac to that contract and called him up. He is the leading point getter on the Laval Rocket. He has I'll give you his hockey DB and go over that. In 43 games this season with Laval, 14 goals, 28 assists for 42 points. So that's almost a point a game. He also has 2 shorthanded goals and 3 power play goals. There, he is even in the plus minus, and he's 5th overall in the AHL scoring race. So definitely having a really good season. And what I do remember about Gignac in seeing him in training camps and development camps is that he always looked really good. But they hadn't signed him to a contract. Let's see now. He will fill in for the traded Sean Monahan, I think, for at least a few games until Alex Newhook comes back, and he's supposed to be close. I think if he has a really good start here, with Montreal, maybe Newhook stays as the winger and doesn't get a second audition at center, which the first one didn't go that well. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping for the best for Gignac. He seems like a really interesting player. He's a guy who basically earned everything that he's got. He earned with hard work, and skill. And we'll see if that translates to the NHL for the guy. So all the best to him, and we'll find out tomorrow, starting in Washington tomorrow. Let's see what else I got here for you guys. Habs recall, because we need 2 centers. So they recall once again Lucas Candata. They sent him back to Laval. He was here before the break, but because they were off for 9 days, and I believe Laval played, they definitely They sent him down there so he'd get a few games in. There was no need to have him up here. And I imagine also for cap reasons as well. So he's recalled. And that's the two centers because we had that big hole. Here's how I think it'll line up for Washington. I think we'll have Suzuki, obviously, first line. I think Gignac gets a look at second line. For me, if I'm the coach, I'm going to start Gignac there over Evans. I know what I'm getting from Evans. Evans is not a second line center. Let's see if Gignac's got it in him. So Suzuki, Gignac, Evans, and Kendata. That's how I think they line up. We're going to see because they're in Washington tomorrow night. Let's see what else I got. Speaking of that, I do expect Samuel Montembeault, or his nickname is Snacks, but I think Monty is going to get the start. They've been off for 9 days. Your number one starter, you want him to get the start and have him to be the first guy to shake off that rust. So Monty is 11-7-4 with a 310 goals against, still really hurting from that Boston game, that goals against. But he does have a 905 save percentage, and he's going to work on building, improving those numbers in the last 33 games of the season. All right. With the trade of Sean Monahan, only Cole Caulfield with 17 goals and Nick Suzuki with 13 goals have double-digit goal totals for Montreal, and that's after 49 games. So, I mean, that's pretty sad, but I mean, you want to wonder why is Montreal in the spot that they're in the standings? Well, that's one of the big reasons. Not getting enough secondary or tertiary scoring at all, and they got to improve on that. Let's see, what's next? Montreal has the most difficult, what do they call that? Strength of schedule to end the season. And I'll show you February. So you can see in February, they've got the Caps, Dallas, St. Louis, Anaheim's easy. They got the Rangers, Caps again, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Arizona, Florida. I'm not going to go through them all. In January 2nd, which couldn't fit on here, they're in Tampa Bay. Who they got there? They got Toronto, got Boston, Vancouver, Edmonton, Seattle, who they don't play well against, Colorado, Carolina, Philadelphia's in there. I said that for Alex. And to end the season in April, they got Florida, Tampa, Toronto, New York, Flyers, the Islanders, Ottawa, who they can't beat, and they ended with 2 games against Detroit. So it's a difficult ending to the season, and I think they could drop. Here's where I think they're going to finish. So they're 7th from the bottom right now, but if you look, Minnesota is just behind them. I think easily Minnesota can pass them because they're not going to win more games than they did in the first part or in the first 49. Ottawa, conceivably now, with they're only 6 points behind them, as is the Blue Jackets, could pass them. I think that's where it would probably end, and I think that's where they're going to finish, somewhere in where Columbus, Ottawa, or Minnesota is. So that's, I believe, 4th, 5th, or 6th from the bottom. We'll see. I mean, losing Monahan this early, especially, right, with a month to go till the trade deadline, I don't see how they better, unless Gignac comes up and he's amazing. If that's the case, like if he's amazing and there's no drop-off from Monahan, maybe they don't have a drop-off, but I don't see that happening, which is good. I mean, if you wanted them to get a good draft pick, almost guaranteed this is what needed to happen to, and it was going to happen, I guess. I was of the mind of keeping Sean Monahan, but they got what they were asking for. They got their asking price. And, I think they're going to use that pick to bring in something else, like, how they did with Doc and Newhook, and use those picks, to bring in a player that's already 1, 2, or 3 years into development and just needs a change of scenery. That's kind of what it is. So I think that's going to happen. And I think Montreal's going to finish, near the bottom of the league and going to finish and get a good draft pick at the draft this year. Okay, enough said on that. Who's next on the block for Montreal? Who's next to be traded? So Montreal isn't done. They're not done yet with the trade deadline. Like just around the corner, it's March 8th. I'm filming this February 5th, so a short 32 days away. The Habs 3-goalie system just screams for a trade, to move a goalie. And with Jake Allen most likely to be the one moved, so with so many cap-strapped teams, though, Montreal will likely need to use its last retained salary slot, which is why it was great that they didn't have to retain salary on Monahan. I think that was one of the conditions. They weren't going to retain salary on Monahan. So, they're going to need that to move Allen because of his remaining contract for next season. He's signing through next season at $3.85 million. Teams are cap-strapped. Right now, and it's going to be difficult to move him, even though, it's a good market right now. So he's a solid backup, especially with a good D in front of him. With so many playoff teams like in need of a goalie, Allen should be moved undoubtedly. It's just, they're going to have to use that retention slot. I'm quite sure. Another guy who might need to that retention spot, like you might need to move Armia as well. So that's Yoel Armia. He still has another year to go at $3.4 million after this one. He's back playing well again. He's playing pretty good. He's got 8 goals, only 1 assist, but still. And his value might be high enough again to maybe not need that retention slot. Maybe you throw in a sweetener with Armia. You might have to do that. He does have elite defensive ability and he's an elite penalty kill guy. So there's that going. But, you throw a draft pick with him, maybe a prospect. I think you can move Armia at the deadline. Montreal could package up that first from Winnipeg. With a young defenseman now. We've got plenty of those here. Either guys like Jordan Harris, a Justin Barron, or even a Jonathan Kovacevic. One of those guys, you got to figure one of those guys is going to get moved. Basically, I think also because next season waivers on them, Barron and Harris. I would imagine next season they don't have the waiver exemption, and it's going to necessitate them moving one of these guys. Because if you waive them, they're going to get picked up. So, they're going to have to move them and get a return of some kind. I imagine they'll move them, if that's the case, the first and a defenseman, if that's what they do, to pick up a young scoring talent if that opportunity presents itself. And I'm not just talking about, like Doc or Newhook necessarily. My dog has to be barking, of course, to end this. Somebody with a little more oomph to their scoring. I think that's what we're looking at. There's also Tanner Pearson. That's another trade option. I don't know what you're going to get back for Tanner Pearson. I believe there's not a lot going to be left on the contract, but it's like a $4 million, somewhere like that, annual average value. So I don't know. They can give him away, really. Any return for Tanner Pearson is going to be fine. I think those are the guys that are on the block. Maybe a guy like Ullinen as a surprise, to make a deal happen, something like that. These are the guys I think are on the block there. Let me know what you guys think, by the way, in the comment section about all this as I try to get through this and not sound like an idiot. All right, now we have the press conference that happened today from the London police about those 5 players that got charged with sexual assault. And what did we learn from it? I was hoping to learn more than I learned, that's for sure. But I can understand why they can't say a lot. I do get it. There's an ongoing trial. It's about to happen in the next little while. There's an investigation still going on. Anything they say in the press conference like this could jeopardize their case, and they don't need to take that chance. I wouldn't want to see these guys go free because they said something in a press conference. No, not if they're guilty. If they're not guilty, of course, then they could go free. This is what I learned. Not a lot. They got and are getting, I guess, varying levels of cooperation from the defendants, but they won't say who was and wasn't really cooperating. The victim, though, was fully cooperative from the beginning of all this, going way back when it first, I guess, came to light somewhere. So the victim fully cooperating, not a problem. I wrote here, can't give important details so as not to jeopardize the ongoing case, which they said over and over and over. And it seemed like the reporters didn't quite grasp this, that if you keep asking the same kind of questions, they're going to tell you the same thing. So maybe be a little imaginative and creative in coming up with questions that could be answered. But also, I don't know that there was much maybe that they could even give, so we didn't get much. One distressing point was the police chief, in one of his comments, at some point said, quote, "I don't know nothing about hockey," unquote, and went on. And I said, like, nothing really? Is he like American? I don't get that. To say I don't know nothing about hockey and you're Canadian, you don't know nothing about hockey. Okay, so that's what I took from that. I don't know what else there was to gather from that. And if you go check it out, because it's on YouTube and you can watch it there, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's about it. I might have missed one point, but I didn't miss much because they kept saying we can't say anything, can't say anything, can't say anything, can't say anything. That's it. That's my news for today. It is February 5th, Monday, February 5th. Let me know what you think about any of this in the comment section. And the Habs are back in action tomorrow night on Tuesday. They're in Washington, and 33 games left. Let's see where they finish. That's it. Keep your stick on the ice. Go Habs, go. And until next time, stay safe out there. Peace out, y'all. And I will see you shortly, or soon anyway. Ciao, everybody.